In today's video, we are going to be taking you on one of the most insane trips you can ever imagine, which is a 14-day tour around the country of Tanzania. This country is one of the most well-known countries in the continent of Africa for the reason being that you can find places so unique to this country like the Serengeti, Mount Kilimanjaro, Zanzibar, and so much more. We're going to be exploring all of these places and more during our 2-week trip, and we're going to be sharing with you what it looks like on a day-by-day schedule. Let's jump right into it. Today is the first day of our adventure in Tanzania. Of course, we must begin with the lively city of Dar es Salaam. This place is a major international hub where most people will be flying in and out, as well as some people will fly in and out of Zanzibar. However, for our itinerary, we are kicking off in Dar es Salaam. This bustling and lively city is home to a staggering 7.4 million people. We'll cover a few activities that we decided to do, but of course, you can be flexible with how you want to spend your days in Dar es Salaam. For us, we headed out into the city, explored some markets in order to experience that hustle and bustle of the daily life.
What are you doing, bro? First meal?
Oh yeah, I'm good for the day now.
Oh yeah, there we go. We're good to go.
2,000 calories in this bad boy.
Easily, bro. Thank you, brother.
And later on that day, we finished off the evening by heading over to the Coco Beach area and testing out some delicious seaside food in a bit more lively environment.
Best food ever. Let's try it out. Nom nom nom.
Day number 2, we woke up bright and early to explore more of Dar es Salaam, and today we're heading into a different side of the city where we can find some really unique markets like at the Kariakoo market and the Mwenge Woodcarver market. These are going to be some of the most popular bazaars to get if you want to buy yourself some souvenirs or local clothing or whatever it might be.
I mean, there's pretty much everything you can imagine inside these markets. We've got car parts, we've got LED signs, lots of bikes being sold in this area.
For us, we stopped and picked up some local jerseys because the one thing I've learned is if you buy something local like a sports team, it's a very quick way to connect with the locals, and that completely changed the dynamic of our day.
Simba! Simba! I think we're gonna wear this every single day for the next year.
It was lots of celebrations, lots of rivalry, and a fun way to walk around and just stroll through the city. Now you can have a more organized day on your second day if you'd like, but for us we like to just stroll around through some of the markets and really immerse ourselves in the culture.
Yeah, there we go. It got us in the paper there.
Later in the day, you'll want to head back over to the same area you spent the evening over near Coco Beach the previous night. And this whole peninsula is going to be the more upscale, high-end side of Dar es Salaam. Here you can find some nicer restaurants right on the water, and we found one at the very tip of the peninsula that offered some incredible sunset views, all while we had a delicious smelling barbecue cooking right next to us.
Oh yeah, that's what we call delish.
One thing I want to mention is this video is not sponsored, but this video is in collaboration with my new brand, which is Perception. It's all about changing perceptions of the world, one country at a time. So if you guys want to check out my new clothing brand that literally just launched this year in 2024, you can check it out in the link in the description below, and it would be a great way to support this channel. Day number 3 will be the day of departure from Dar es Salaam, and it's time to fly over to Arusha. So you'll head to the local airport on the domestic side of the terminals and fly over to Arusha. You take a smaller size plane that's a propeller plane, and it takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get over to Arusha from Dar es Salaam. And once you land, you are going to receive a very warm welcoming if you book a tour guide like ours, which his name is Malaki, and his tour was incredible.
Good to meet you. The king. How we doing, brother?
Mambo kaka. Mambo kaka, vipi?
How are you?
The next 8 days are going to be us sharing with you what this 8-day tour amongst some of the most beautiful landscapes in the world were like. So Malaki and his team drove us over to the Maasai lodge, which we're going to share a lot more about that in the next day. And the journey was spectacular along the way, but it was dark out, so we didn't see too much, but it was a fun ride. Day 4 is where the real adventure begins. We woke up at the crack of dawn inside the Maasai lodge, and we were surprised with what we found. Alright, we have woken up first thing in the morning. Since we're on a safari, most likely I'll have an accent change, my friends. Because we arrived after dark, we weren't able to see much, but when the sun was coming up, we could see the amazing landscapes and all of the huts that all of us were staying in. After a quick breakfast, my friends and I hopped in the safari jeeps and we went over to the base of Mount Kilimanjaro. No, we're not climbing up to the very top of Mount Kilimanjaro, but we still are getting an experience of what it's like, and so we're going to one of the smaller peaks today. Upon arrival, our guides had prepared a delicious lunch for us to have at the base of the mountain before we began our 6-hour round-trip hike.
So total 6 to 7 hour hike.
Yes.
All right, so this is going to be a good workout then.
Yeah, sure.
All right, a lot of elevation we're going up.
We're going to the 800.
800, okay. Wow.
If you're on a tight schedule like we were and we wanted to see as much as we could, fitting in the entire hike to the peak of Mount Kilimanjaro was one, not something we were capable of doing nor interested, and two, we didn't have enough time. So this hike that we did brought us through to see some amazing landscapes along the way. A lot of the hike was actually flat until we got right near the mountain, then it started to get pretty steep. But it was a great hike overall. We got to see a couple different viewpoints. Unfortunately, when we got to the peak, we were surrounded by clouds, but we did get some amazing views along the way.
Going up the trail here, we're getting into some like more rugged terrain over here, some ups and downs walking through this area, but it's a great trip, guys. We've got like just hours of walking. Really nice thing to come on with a group of people.
The hike back down was nice and relaxing, and we finished off with another meal prepared by our tour guides to finish off the evening before hanging out at the Maasai lodge for the night. Day 5 is all about cultural immersion. This day was a full day where you'll be meeting and spending time with the Maasai tribe as we did. The tribe will take you inside of their village and you'll meet some of the locals along the way. They will explain you many different things about their culture, answer any questions you might have about their way of life, and it might be quite interesting for you to find out how different life in Tanzania is versus life at home wherever you're from.
Really stuck out to me is you are 17 years old when, as a man, you can become a warrior. And what does it take to become a warrior? There is a day where in front of the village you are fully naked. When you're born, keep in mind in some cultures people are circumcised, in some cultures they're not right at birth. So when a Maasai man is born, he's not circumcised, but on that day of turning 17 in front of the whole village, for about a 3-minute process, he is being circumcised.
And for my friends, we were quite surprised with some of the things we ended up doing. One of them was smoking elephant dung, which is actually a practice Maasai people do, not for any pleasurable reason. It's actually to cure headaches.
Just plants, right?
Yeah, but it smells like...
Oh, you suck it in with your mouth.
Oh, wow. It's ripping that thing.
We also visited a lion's den as well as met some of the local tribe members where they did some spear throwing and taught us how to throw spears. Throwing spears is a big part of the Maasai culture because of hunting, because of protection, and so many other reasons. So it was really cool to see. And we also learned throwing a spear is a lot harder than we would have ever imagined.
Yeah, guys, we just did a spear throwing contest, and let me just tell you, it is much harder than it looks. The Maasai tribe makes it look like you can just toss that thing and it glides in the air. So I hopped up there fully confident it was going to go straight into the lion's gullet. But yeah, let's put it this way. Complete air ball wasn't close. That lion would have taken me out. So
the day was so much fun, and surprisingly, it wasn't even over yet. But I will say this was one of my most memorable days of the trip because on our way out, the whole tribe came out singing and dancing, and they even chased our safari jeeps out on our way, which added a really special experience.
Wow!
wow, wow, wow.
So the drive we're taking is now over to Arusha, and we have a pre-booked hotel to kind of have a free afternoon after this because it was a very jam-packed morning with a lot of exploring in the sun. On day 6, it's our first day where we're going to be seeing tons of animals because we're heading to the Tarangire National Park. It's one of Tanzania's many fantastic national parks, and it's known for its incredible, diverse wildlife. We left our hotel pretty early in the morning to be able to maximize our time and did a 2-hour drive from our hotel. Once we arrived inside of the national park, we had to keep our eyes peeled because within seconds of driving in, we were coming across so many types of animals. whether it was zebras, giraffes, or even a leopard. But these aren't the only animals you're going to see. Additionally, you'll see buffaloes, wildebeests, elephants, and so many more, with some lions lurking around. This is insane. We've seen so many types of animals so far. We're looking at baboons. We've got zebras right over here. We just had elephants walk by. We saw lions. We saw, what else did we see though? A little bit
Giraffes,
of birds,
elephants.
Giraffes, yeah. This is insane. Antelopes, bro.
Beautiful colored birds.
Yeah, this is something else. Now, the best part about all this is we took an open roof vehicle, making us feel like we were almost one with nature. But at first, it was a little bit scary until we realized most of the animals are quite used to seeing these safari jeeps driving around. Look at these zebras right here. They're just so close to us. Just blows my mind how they're so used to. I mean, they're wild animals living here. They just must be so used to grazing around while jeep safaris are chilling. I mean, guys, look at how close we are. My legs are hanging out, and they're right there. So as we cruised through Tarangire National Park, it was so cool. We came so close to many types of animals. I was even surprised with how many elephants just hung out within a few feet of our jeep. As we neared lunchtime, it was time to stop inside the Tarangire National Park and have a delicious lunch with our crew and the tour guide. After we explored Tarangire National Park for about an hour and a half more, we stopped by a souvenir shop, grabbed ourselves some local paintings on our way out, and headed to our next hotel, which is deep inside of Marera Valley. This place is a more luxurious experience where we were able to live the high life. Now, I want to mention it was my birthday trip, so we did sometimes go a little bit luxury and had to get myself a massage, have some buffets of food, and enjoy some nice accommodations with me and the boys. Day number 7 of the trip, and it is time to start making our way towards the Serengeti. First off, we are stopping at the Ngorongoro crater where we get to see what it looks like from above. Later on in the itinerary, we're actually going to head down inside of there, but from up here we get to see a beautiful viewpoint of this mega crater that has a vast amount of wildlife and a really beautiful spot. Now today we're spending a lot of the day driving all the way just to get over to the Serengeti, but I will tell you, along the way it was an excursion in itself. We saw so many vast landscapes, got to cruise along, stop roadside, see giraffes, meet some locals who we were able to buy some jewelry from and immerse ourselves in the culture, and continuously drive much further until we got to the entrance of the Serengeti where we enjoyed a delicious lunch. Like I said in the last video, the thermos that he has, or the thermal mugs, keep these things so hot. Like, it burns my tongue taking a drink from it. Incredible food. Now we're inside the Serengeti, and it didn't take us very long to start seeing some beautiful animals like giraffes. We made it over to the lakes where we saw a huge area where the lions feed. It was a bit eerie because there was a lot of skeletons from the wildebeests, but I can tell you it was definitely a lot of fun to cruise through there and see what wildlife is like. And let me tell you, wildlife has no mercy on each other. When we got to one of the viewpoints, we were actually surrounded by lions, but they were in their relaxation state. So when we parked the jeeps next to them, they seemed to not really care that we were near them.
They're used to the humans being around, so they don't mind when we pull up in the safari jeep.
After exploring more of the Serengeti, we took a few-hour drive to get us to where we are staying the night. Now, where we're staying the night is freaking awesome. And let me just tell you, we're doing glamping, and that means glamorous camping inside the Serengeti. So once we arrived, it was already dark out, so we couldn't see too much, but we headed over to the tents after we got checked in and give you a nice little tour of what it looks like to be glamping inside of the Serengeti. One thing I'll tell you is I decided to stay in my tent alone, and that night the hyenas came out and one of them came to my front porch.
But I was terrified, guys. 1:30 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, and I laid up there for like an hour and a half. Only one in my tent. All I could think about was today's the day I'm gonna get chopped up, eaten up. And I learned a lot about hyenas last night. I spent about an hour and a half researching them. So at least now I know how to battle them. You gotta punch them in the nose if they try and bite you, but their jaws are stronger than lions. So they're known for being able to just crack people's bones with one bite. So
I survived. That's why I'm here telling the story. But this truly gets you as close to nature as you can imagine. Good morning for day number 8. We're starting out with a delicious breakfast on our campsite. And now you can see a little bit more of what we're waking up to. This place is so freaking beautiful. Now it is time to get back into the safari jeeps and we're heading inside. Today's going to be an exciting day because where we're heading, we are going to see a ton of lions. We saw lions who had just eaten a fresh meal, just gotten a fresh kill.
oh my god, it looks like maybe it's a little baby one. It's small. They've ripped it apart. So it looks like he was just
All because of this guy.
We also saw some angry female lions who were heading back to where they all hang out. And let's put it this way, you wanted to stay out of her way. And then we actually saw some lions that were going to get a quick drink of water, and this was one of the coolest things because you saw a male and a female who seemed like they were fighting the way some of the reactions the female had for the male lion, but it was truly as close to the wildlife nature as you can even imagine. Now, I have much longer vlogs on my main YouTube channel, which actually take you by the full day-by-day experience, whereas this video is more curated for tourism. But one thing I'll share with you is when you're in the wild, you're going to experience things that for some people I noticed in my YouTube comments was a bit triggering. We came across a leopard that we were being told from our guides had most likely gotten in some sort of fight with either a lion or another leopard or someone that had caused its back vertebrae to break, and so it was only able to move on its front legs. Now, a lot of people commented like, how could you leave it there? How could you not save it? This is the wild. You're not allowed to get out of your jeeps and just go help a wild leopard. You can put yourself and the guides in danger. Unfortunately, that leopard was probably someone else's lunch later on that day. This is the law of the jungle. Eat or be eaten. So anyways, as today progressed, it was a big cat day. We saw a lot of lions, we saw that leopard, and right after we had a group lunch over in the Serengeti, we ended up seeing some cheetahs as well. They had recently eaten and it was the midday, so it was quite hot out and they were quite relaxed as they just were looking for a place to hide in the shade. So they actually used our safari jeeps as a place to hang out. After that, we headed over to a big swamp area where one of the most dangerous animals in the world is. And that animal is a hippo. But there wasn't just one, there was a ton of them. So these are some of the most aggressive animals, yet they're usually coming out in the evening and they're just hanging out and cooling off in the water during the daytime. And we saw that actually, if you guys saw either earlier in this video or in a previous video, the hippo was walking out and it was right when the sun was almost set. So they stay out the entire night up until sunrise. And then they head back and just hang out here every day during the day. So it makes it easy to find these guys. But it's also a reminder you do not want to take a hike at night here in the Serengeti because you don't know what you're going to find at night. But let me tell you this, it's not going to be pretty and you're probably not going to end up in one piece. So we got to see them from far for a little while before we headed back over towards our glamping camp. When we arrived, some of the locals greeted us with some drums and some music, and me and the boys did a little bit of dancing before it was time to just hang out and enjoy a Serengeti sunset at this beautiful camp. And now we are on day number 9 of the trip, and it was a special one because as you saw previously, we got a sneak peek of what Ngorongoro crater was like a few days back on our way to the Serengeti. Now on our way back, we are going to be driving directly inside of this massive crater. The Ngorongoro crater was formed about 2.5 million years ago when a large volcano erupted and collapsed on itself, creating a caldera. This caldera is approximately 610 meters deep and covers an area of 260 kilometers. It is the largest unbroken and unflooded volcanic caldera in the world. And what we found inside was amazing. There are many different types of animals, making it easily one of our favorite days, though it's hard to choose because all of them have been simply amazing. This entire area is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, home to over 20,000 animals. And you really feel that when you're driving through, spotting a fair number of animals everywhere you go. And there are a lot of safari jeeps going through there, but since it's so spread out, it does not feel very crowded. This was the only place in our entire Tanzania trip where we saw rhinos, along with many other types of animals, but being able to see rhinos, even though it was from a distance, was incredible. On day 10, your activities will largely depend on your flight time. While some might have the opportunity to explore Arusha for the day, we had an early flight to Zanzibar, which is going to be our activity for day number 10. So we headed to the airport and came across one of the smallest airports I've ever seen and hopped on a little plane that took us on a short flight from Arusha to Zanzibar. Upon arrival in Zanzibar, we decided to rent a car in order to be able to explore the island independently. So, as you can probably guess, we were without a guide at this point, but Zanzibar is the type of place where you don't really need a guide for most of the things you're going to do. So, one thing I will say is driving in Zanzibar is quite manageable. I didn't really find any issues. However, people do tend to drive quite fast, so stay vigilant and you shouldn't have any sort of issues. For those of you who are considering renting a taxi, just note that taking a taxi might cost you a lot more, because
Just for us to take the taxi from the airport an hour and 2 minutes would have been about 50 US, or our hotel offered us for 40 US, but we're actually paying 30 US per day for this car, and I'm sure we'll probably spend 15-20 bucks a day on gas, if that. So, you know, overall we have that flexibility and we can pretty much go wherever we want, whenever we want.
So it's much more economical if you're going to be staying for a few days and you don't mind driving than renting a taxi each time you have to go from one side of the island to the other. And by the way, Zanzibar is a lot bigger than you might imagine. It takes hours to get from the south to the north of the island. So after a drive over to the eastern side of the island where we had our hotel, it was one of those days we decided we're just going to relax, sit by the pool, have a meal, and finish this day off just like this. On day 11, it is a great day to do some more relaxing and unwinding, which you'll find is a common theme when we're inside of Zanzibar, and you'll want to enjoy this place to the fullest. Like us, you're probably going to be a little more tired after doing tons of exploring, tons of fast-paced traveling all along mainland Tanzania. So now it's time for a little bit of beach life.
Oh yeah, this water is literally hot right now. Wow. Oh yeah, you feel that, bro? Woo-hoo-hoo, yeah.
Spend the day relaxing, surfing, partaking in water sports, whatever you might be feeling, or just simply having a cocktail on the beach. And if you have the energy later on in the day, it's time to take a couple-hour drive to the northern part of the island to witness a beautiful sunset, have a nice dinner, meet some locals, and of course, stop by the cool little turtle sanctuary where you'll see everything from baby turtles to these huge turtles that you can actually feed. On day 12 of the trip, it's time to head over to Stone Town in Zanzibar. Stone Town is a city full of activities, and it's more of the business hub of Zanzibar, home to many local businesses, souks, and historical sites. And so with that in mind, I would recommend you take a historical tour just to get a feel for the town. We started our day with getting a guided tour, and that brought us deep into the roots of how Zanzibar has developed, what it's been like some of the harder times throughout the years, and what it's evolved to into today's day and age. During that time, we visited some souks, bought some souvenirs, did a little negotiation for some of the items, and found ourselves at a really delicious lunch spot right on the water to take a rest midday. As you can expect in Stone Town, you're going to be able to find some very high-end restaurants with really delicious food. One of our friends who had been here previously had recommended us to stop by this place, so the meal was an absolute feast.
That calamari straight from the Indian Ocean right here. Wow.
We finished off the rest of the day walking around Stone Town a bit more before driving back to our hotel on the other side of the island. It is day 13, and sadly it is the last full day of our trip, and so we decided to spend it by savoring each moment on the beach. Zanzibar is probably most well known for its beautiful waters and sandy beaches, so you'll find a lot of repetition in some of the things you'll be doing no matter where you are on the island of Zanzibar. And so we relaxed, had some cocktails, enjoyed a massage by the pool and beach, and took in these last moments of the beautiful Zanzibar island. I would recommend finishing off with a slower paced day because for a lot of us, we are traveling to other sides of the world on day number 14. So that leads us into day number 14. Sadly, it is time to head to Zanzibar International Airport and take your flight to wherever it is you are going to. So guys, that is where we are going to end today's video. As you can tell, it was a fun-filled, action-packed, wild experience from Dar es Salaam through Tanzania's best national parks and nature, and then finishing off in some of the most exotic beaches you can find on the planet on Zanzibar Island. So I've included some additional things